kind of opened my own here, so I will be
Yeah, the
able to,
questions are a lot.
yeah.
Okay, thank you for joining, everyone. Welcome to the
Good morning.
this Q&A session inside the lab. So I find that many times formulators have issues with formulation is not a walk in the park, and most times you may have issues or questions that, or you run into a fix while formulating. And because these days, when we first started out, we had lack of information, but right now there's overdose of information, and so we don't even, a lot of people don't know which is true, which isn't correct. There's a lot of fear mongering, a lot of misinformation, which is why we are doing this session. Um, and we've asked people to send in their formulation questions ahead of time. Hi, Triple B, Pure Light, good morning. To send in their formulation questions ahead of time so that we'll prioritize the questions. That was the essence of asking you people to register. So we're just going to go straight into the question because we have just about not more than 90 minutes, and we've wasted a lot of time trying to figure out our tech already, the platform already. Okay, so the first questions we have here is um, I don't want to mention the names, so I'll just go straight to the question. What are the ingredients added to a lotion made with ascorbic acid or hydroquinone to prevent it from deteriorating or changing color within 7 days? Are you going to go? Are you going to go answer that, Evita, or should I? Should
I'm
I?
not going to teach you how to make products with hydroquinone. I'm
Okay.
sorry. No, but I mean, in when it comes to color changing in emulsions, it has to do with a lot of things. So one, you can look at are you using a good chelating agent? You can look at that. The oils you are also using, are you using antioxidant to like slow down deterioration of the oils? What else can I think of? The pH as well of the product can also result in that. The compatibility of all the raw materials as well. These are things you can also think about. The type of packaging you are using also matters a lot. So, yeah, and other ingredients that also help to, yeah, chelating agents, yeah, basically, yeah. But
Okay.
I'm not going to teach you how to make, yeah,
Okay, fine, okay,
yeah.
then. So, basically, what I'm going to say about this question is, when it comes to things like, there are some ingredients that are notoriously difficult to stabilize. These two ingredients you just mentioned here, ascorbic acid and hydroquinone, they are one of them. Another one is kojic acid. Um, so when it comes to hydroquinone, for ascorbic acid, I would say, um, like Evita rightly said, your formulation, your pH, and then maybe chelating agents and all of that. And sometimes all you just need to do is make anhydrous formulations of this. That limits water, the contact to water, and anhydrous formulations of vitamin C. Example of that is the one that I think the ordinary. I think they have an anhydrous suspension of
Yeah.
vitamin C, and then also packaging, like she rightly mentioned. Now, when it comes to hydroquinone, I know that a lot of African formulators want to work with hydroquinone so bad. That's why you're asking this question. I would say that this is not something that you just add one ingredient and you find that it's going to, you won't have discoloration in 7 days. Sometimes there are in these labs there are specialized equipment that they use to measure, like control things like exposure to light even while they are formulating the
Absolutely.
products. Even the what's it called, the equipment they use to, is it the blanket or there's something they call, is it something
The
they just
vats,
the
we call them
yes,
vats. The
exactly,
vessels and those things, yeah.
exactly, the vessels. Sometimes these things require specialized vessels to be able to formulate them in a way that from the beginning they're already having low exposure to light and things that can speed up oxidation. It's not something that you can just go inside your home lab to
Good,
recreate. And
good.
then this
Thank
same,
you.
this same person said, how do you know the longevity of products so as to put an expiration date on it? There is no way you can know this except you actually run stability tests. You can't say how long your product is going to last. When we first started out, what they said was, oh, check the expiration date of your ingredients, the one with the shortest shelf life. That's how long your product is going to last. But that's a lie, you know. We read a lot of
Yeah.
misinformation then. Except you're doing stability testing, there is no way you can actually know how long your product is going to last. Stability testing, PET testing, all these things will let you know, not only let you know the storage methods, best packaging and all of that, to for you to actually say, this is how long my product is going to last. Now, this same person said, what might be the cost of a product that changed color and smell in less than 3 months, even when there is no ingredient present or that changes color with time, even when you have formulated same products before and there was no color change? Um, like we already said before, I think
Yeah.
everything you said is embedded into this then.
Yeah.
First of all, your supplier, did you change supplier? And then, do you have a method of quality control? Because, yeah, you might have formulated it before and you didn't have any color change. Did you formulate at the same temperature? Did you check your pH? Did you change suppliers? There are different things that can cause color change,
Yeah.
really, different reactions that can cause color change. There's no one size fits all. So, like we already said earlier on, check your chelating agents, check that the kind of oils that you're using, add antioxidants, add things to potentiate your preservative, put HODO technology in place. Um, and then some ingredients, you might think that some ingredient, like I was surprised when I found that tranexamic acid discolors. I
Mm.
didn't know. For all my research, it was one day that I ran stability test and found that one product that I made with tranexamic acid started to, discolor. That was when I actually started researching and I realized that changes color. So even when you say there's no ingredient present that changes color with time, there are some ingredients that you may not have thought that they will change color, but based on maybe storage conditions and all of that, they might change
Yeah.
color over time. So you may need to look into that. Somebody said, how do I set up a home lab? Evita, I got to answer
Oh,
that.
yeah. To set up a home lab, first of all, I would say you need a dedicated space. I know a lot of people make products in their kitchen, but for me, it can be a little bit overwhelming when you have to pack and unpack every time. It doesn't encourage you to work. So even if it's a table, get a very dedicated space. Start with the basis, your one or two beakers, your thermometers, your heating plate. Even if it's oils that you are starting with, that is fine. The moment you start advancing into emotions, then that's when you want to bring up your other things like your immersion blender or stick blender, the things that you will use. Just basic things, your bowls, spatulas, things that, honestly, common things you can find in your kitchen. But there are things that you also need, especially if you are doing products with water, like your pH meter, thermometers, a heating plate, because yeah, I mean, there is no there is no one size fits all way of it. Is what you make that will inform the kind of lab you want to set up.
Yeah.
So if it's just basic oils and butters, then you know that okay, basic equipment will do. But if you are advancing into making product for sale and you want to do it well, then your tools will also come in, your equipment like your overhead stirrer, your homogenizer, things to test like basic, a good pH meter, things to test for stability. An example, it may be a centrifuge to run some cycles to see your home, even diffuser can be a storage test where you do your freeze and thaw. So it depends on where you want to start from and the kind of things you want to do, but these are really the basis. Yeah.
Thank you, Evita. And then if let me mention this about setting up a home lab. Please, you mentioned the hand blender. That's why that came to my head. Make sure that when you set up your home lab, you have a dedicated equipment. Your equipment for making products should be dedicated to making products, not that you have You use them interchangeably. And like I always say, me, I started off as a home crafter. So, like you said, that dedicated space is key. First of all. Secondly, please don't go use the spoons that you use in the house. For people who make black soap, you go use your wooden spatula that you use in the kitchen for your black soap. That's a no-no. Or we've had quite a number. You'll see people, if you watch the internet space, you will find people, when you see them making black soap with one Betty looking bucket, probably went to pick it from somewhere to, make products. So formulating from home doesn't mean that you can't still observe strict GMP. So all your tools, your equipment, you can start with, like Evita rightly said, you can start with small tool, like the basics. But the important thing is that ensure that you observe
Good
GMP,
GMP.
good manufacturing, yes, good manufacturing practices. The fact that you're formulating from home doesn't mean that you should just, do things anyhow. There are people who make um, shelf grade good products from home, you know, and all of that. So, um, somebody also said preservative systems and contract manufacturing. This isn't a question. Preservative systems are vague. Like, this is a vague. It's so preservation is such a broad topic. But if to go into preservation, there are so many things to consider. Type of products, water and oil and water, emulsions. That can also fuel your choice of preservative. Then, when it comes to preservative, we have what's it called? Your brand ethos is very important. Natural,
Okay.
what kind of products are you making? And then if you're using the nutrients, let me put it that way, the amount of bug food in your formula. So for example, if your preservation or your preservative calls for, let's say, 0.8 to 1.1%, if you have a lot of natural ingredients in quotes, you may want to go to the higher end of your preservative. And then there's also the place of putting HODO technology in place, using preservative potentiators, using ingredients that will reduce water activity. There's also a place for the order of addition. So, for example, when I'm working with gums, depending, sometimes I like to add my preservative before I use my gelling agent. There's also a place for temperature. For people who make hot pour products, you can use preservatives that can't
Temperature
withstand heat.
dependent.
Yeah. And then if you're also making products like sunscreens, like hand creams that people carry around, in the hot sun, leave in their cars, you may want to consider that when choosing your choice of your preservative should be able to withstand this different weather conditions. So it's just a lot to consider when it comes to preservation. There's no one size fits all. Your products, the type of product you're formulating, your brand ethos, and all of that, your target audience.
Yeah.
There's some preservatives that you can use for babies because of the presence of some ingredients in them, and there are some preservatives that you can use comfortably for babies. And then also, is it broad spectrum?
Yeah.
Is it strong against fungi, bacteria? At what pH does it work? So there are so many things to consider when choosing your preservative. There's no one size fits all. And then contract manufacturing, I can't really speak to that. Evita, are you well versed with contract manufacturing? Is this a service that you offer?
No, I am not a contract manufacturer, but before contract manufacturers basically take your formula and manufacture for you. So before you go to a contract manufacturer, one, you should have made sure your formula is working. It's a working formula. Two, you have done all your testing on your formula because it's not your contract manufacturer who is going to give you your product specification or who is going to tell you how to make your product. You should have all that documents in place. Make sure you have tested the product, like you've gone through preservative testing, stability testing, and then even CPSR to some point, depending on where you are. And then you just give that document to your contract manufacturer and they make the product for you, fill in your packaging for you, and send you finished products for you to sell. And trust me,
Yeah.
no contract manufacturer is interested in your formula. Sometimes people have the notion that if I work with a contract manufacturer, hey, what won't they steal my formula? Look, there are so many formulas that they work with. Some contract manufacturers also have their own formulas that you can go to and
Exactly.
say that, okay, I want to make this product. Do you have anything like that? Maybe they might have a base whereby you can actually add some additives to it and then make it your own. So that option is also there with some contract manufacturers. Yeah.
Exactly. The point of stealing formula, that's very important because I find that any small thing, people are like, oh, but I don't want to share my formula. I always tell people there is nothing you want to do now that people have not done before. We're just um,
Yeah. Yeah.
don't be too worried about people stealing your formula. Most times, where you make the point of difference is sometimes your marketing message, just find something that like your unique selling point. Don't be so scared about people stealing your formula. Then, before you choose a contract manufacturer, ask questions like, do they observe strict GMP? You want to know how the manufacturing space works so that you don't make products that you will now start recalling based on
Yeah.
issues with
Contamination
preservation.
and yeah.
Yes, contamination, exactly. So you want to know all of that before you choose a contract manufacturer. Someone says, how do I stabilize my shampoos and also lab organization? Well, stabilizing shampoos, it depends. When you're talking about shampoos, I would say I would love to think that you're talking about surfactant-based products. So, when you want to stabilize your shampoo, it's dependent on the surfactant that you picked. So, if you're using something like sulfate, you might work with salt. If you're not using sulfate, you might want to go the way of gums to stabilize your formulation. And then when you talk about polymers, we have the natural gums, we have acrylate polymers. There are different ways. Like again, this is a big question. If we know the shampoo you're talking about and then the ingredients, then we'll be able to tell you the best way to stabilize the shampoo.
Yeah.
There's no one size fits all on stabilizing shampoos. It's dependent on the ingredients, the synergy of ingredients, and every other thing in your formulation. And lab organization. Talking about lab organization, I would say have a detailed SOP of how you run things in your lab. When you calibrate your pH meter, your scales, you clean how you clean, your final rinse with distilled water or deionized water, how you disinfect, you know. Then if you have people working with you, you should have a detailed SOP that you hand over to them to on how things should be run in the lab, batch coding. There are different things about good lab practices. So lab organization, there are so many things. Sorry guys, I'm outside because my 7-month-old is in the house, so I came outside so that we could do this comfortably without issues.
Nice.
Okay, so that's why if you hear me sound in the background, pardon me. Okay, somebody says quality control. Evita, would you want to answer that? Quality control.
What what's on quality control? Well, maybe you want to do quality control on the raw materials you buy. Check your source where you buy it from. Can they provide you some documentation like MSDS, certificate of analysis, know the expiry date of your raw materials, and also be very conversant with your raw materials as well, because sometimes so that nobody will sell salt to you as something else. To me, I remember you said something
Don't
like
need
that,
to.
right?
What the
Yeah.
soul said. So
So
me as salad,
yeah,
that's it.
yeah, and then also in terms of keep very good records,
Yeah.
quality control of your formulations you make, so that you can always have the record that, oh, the first time I make this emulsion, the color was purple. Why is the color orange today? Keep that record as well. What else? I think it ties down to good manufacturing practices. Also, it's part of
Yeah.
all the quality control you can put in place. Yeah.
Exactly. That's very important. Talking about knowing your ingredients. Know your ingredients. You can't overemphasize that. I don't know if it happens in other African countries, but here in Nigeria, if you ask some suppliers, if you ask them for MSDS, they'll be like, "What do you mean? Do you mean I'm selling what I'm selling is fake?" There are no sentiments. I'm like,
No, some
these
do.
are not. They're not sentiments. I just want to know what you. I need to know the details of what you're giving me. I need to know what is in it, certificate of analysis, and all of that. So, please, you need to ask these questions and know your ingredients. Take time to study the physicochemical analysis or sorry, properties of these ingredients. That was how I was
Yeah.
able to know that what they sold to me was sold. This has happened to me times without number. A popular supplier has sold sodium lactate to me as lactic acid. It smelled same, but I had to use my pH meter. And when I saw that this wasn't acidic, it was closer to neutral than acidic. I knew that was not lactic acid.
Lactic acid.
And the person said, "Oh, sorry, but if I didn't do that test, I'll be using it like lactic acid, but I won't be getting results, and I'll feel like there's something I'm doing wrong." So quality control, you must know where you're getting your ingredients from. You must know trust your supplier. That's very important. Then take stock of your ingredients, the ones that are going to expire, discard. Even though, from my experience working with raw materials, there are some ingredients that even after their expiry date, they might still be good. But there are some ingredients that when they are expired, they are expired. For example,
Yeah.
gums. I won't use a gum after it has passed its expiry date. But things like maybe cetyl alcohol, also, you should have a method of validating these ingredients to know if they are still performing as well as they should. So
Yeah.
there's no one size fits all. You are your lab, you know how you formulate your stuff. And so based on that, you should have laid down principles on how to monitor your day-to-day formulation activities in the lab. That way you're able to put good quality control in place.
Yeah.
Somebody says, please, how best to pair actives? Well, talking about pairing actives, there are so many things. You just need to do your research, really. Take your time to research the actives. Go into the one place that you can. There's this site, Inky Decoder. I like Inky Decoder a lot because I usually go there to just look around to see what the products that people have in place, you know. So talking about pairing actives, the synergy, you need to take your time to read up on the ingredients. Take your time to know their formulation requirements,
Yeah.
temperature requirements, and know if this is something that you should pair together or not pair together. Sometimes your supplier will give you a data and tell you that, oh, this works best with this, or this shouldn't work best with this. That works. And that way to find out, like I said, when you do your R&D, I'm sure there's no ingredient that you want to work with that nobody has worked with before, most times. So
Yeah.
doing your R&D, with your R&D, you should be able to maybe see what other people have done, see the ingredient or the choice of actives. That way you can know, okay, this works with
With this.
this. There's another thing there's another one. Is it Portion? One AI that just came out. I think the name is Portion. I'm not so
Okay.
sure.
I
That
think
helps you.
so.
I think that, yeah. So there are so many ways. One way, the best way to pair actives really is to do your research. You can't say most times, like for example, energy, niacinamide. Some people have done tests, um, in vivo tests to tell you this worked with this. If you paired maybe this and this, it worked as well as hydroquinone, or as well as if you pair azelaic and MAP, it worked as well as minoxidil. That's in terms of hair loss. I think something for hair loss. Is it azelaic or tretinoin or something? One of those. I read one study on that. So do your reading, know what works in synergy, check formulation requirements, check the pH. You can't work with if something is 3.5, the pH of something is 3.5 to 7, and the other one, the pH is maybe 4 to 7. You might be able to, work with them. But if something works best at 3.5 for L-ascorbic acid, and then something works well close to neutral pH, you can pair them together. So those are the things there are so many things to consider when pairing ingredients. Somebody else says what's quality control? We've answered that question. I have a space now. I'm trying to set up my lab. Please, how do I go about it? We've answered this question also. Even though we talked about home, setting up your home space, but there's nothing. It's not so different from trying to set up your lab. The only difference is that this is a dedicated space now. So you still need your tools, your equipment, your overhead stirrers, your heating equipment, cooling equipment for running stability testing, your fridge, freezer, um, reptile incubators if you don't want to go, if you're on a budget. So your budget has a huge role to play in what you should put in place first. If you don't have a homogenizer, you can first start with a hand blender. So there are so many things to, there's no one size fits all. Somebody says stability testing for beginners on small batches. Evita, would you want to answer this? I think say stability
Stability
test.
test. Okay, so
It's it's a very broad
you
topic.
just, I think you mentioned the incubator, or as simple
Yes.
as leaving the product down and observing it, like smell. So your eyes, your nose, these are all stability tools.
Yeah,
But sensory, okay, so you can, if a product changes color, you would see it visibly with your eye. Is that right?
exactly.
If it changes smell, you can smell it. If, let's say, even in terms of application, if at first it was rubbing nicely and all of a sudden it's very taggy and it's draggy, you can experience it. So you would know something is wrong. But if you want to run a good stability, then your freezer is good. You can do the freeze and thaw where 5 cycle or 6 cycle, or sometimes what my friend mentioned or taught me is that sometimes you can also post the product to yourself, okay, so that you see how the product behave in transition,
Yes. In
because
transition,
people
exactly.
are, yeah, so you can post the product to yourself or even to a friend and let them tell you, because changes in temperature can actually also cause differences or some cause a bit of stability issues in, especially in emotions. Apart from that, your incubator, Chisom said that your incubator where you keep it at 35 or 45 degrees, looking at your room temperature, or sometimes just put it down and observe. I mean, just observe it and give it time. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's basic.
Um, there are so many things, like you already mentioned. That's basically it for a beginner or for small batches. You just observe. Sometimes you just do real. So these are even, we're even talking about accelerated tests. Sometimes even real time. You make a product and just keep it there. And you've even
Yeah.
forgotten that you've made it. A year later, you come back. That's real time stability testing that you just conducted to see how you worked on. It's performed real time. On the shelf. So for beginners, there's no, like, let me use pidgin English. No to reason like, I'll tell, don't. You can do it with your your fridge and your freezer in the house. You can post it to yourself. Everything Evita rightly said. For a small scale um beginner. So somebody said, should we ask? Can we
And
ask questions?
stability,
Yeah, but we have the amount of questions we have here. They are
I
just too
can't
much.
see the, I can't see any, if they are commenting, I can't see it again.
Oh, okay. I can see somebody asking questions here. Um, Someone
Okay,
says
I can't see the
interesting
questions.
session. Thank you, Pure Lock staff. Can you see it now? Can you see it now? Can you hear me?
No, I can hear you, but I can't see the questions. So if people are
Oh,
commenting, I can't see the comments anymore. Yeah.
anymore.
I think you
Oh,
can
okay.
see it. Yeah,
Yes,
it's
I can
fine.
see some. Somebody said on quality control, I got a low molecular weight hyaluronic acid, and after making a 1% solution, it had no viscosity. How would I know what was sold to me? It got hydrated in minutes. Low
It's
molecular
a
weight
low
is why it doesn't
molecular weight.
change. exactly. It doesn't stick in.
Yeah, it
Um,
doesn't.
it doesn't. So yeah. And Ijama says, is it wrong to stick to one preservative, e.g., liquid Gemal Plus? Well, no, but you can't just stick to liquid Gemal Plus and just be using it and using it and using it, because even though it's really relatively foolproof, um, it doesn't still fit into all products, like all products briefs or all kinds of products. There are there are things that deactivate preservatives. For example, I was reading one paper that said, so sometimes some proteins can deactivate some formaldehyde releasing preservatives.
Mm,
And so one of the liquid Gemal Plus is a formaldehyde releasing preservative. You never can tell
yeah,
these things. There's no one size fits all. So I would say learn to work with a wide range of preservatives. Depending now,
absolutely.
if you are making something for your brand and then you're just making only one type of product, and then that's fine. But if you're looking to expand your knowledge, you're looking to learn how to formulate different types of products, you must learn how to work with different types of preservative.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
bottom line, is it wrong? No, it's not wrong. But you need to, learn to go beyond just leave your comfort zone. Okay, so somebody is saying, we're going back to the questions that people sent in. I hope we're able to finish this today. We have over 200 and the questions here, they're over 250. Oh. But we'll answer what we can answer.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
have a lot
Yeah.
of
So I
questions.
think
So somebody is
we should
saying,
try and keep the we should try and keep some of the answers very short. I know
very
you're a
short.
lecturer, so you like to explain very well.
You're very correct. You're very correct. So I'll just keep, because we have a lot of questions and we have just a few more minutes left. So somebody is
Yeah.
saying, best suppliers who sell active and are willing to give the data sheets. Do you have any recommendation? For me, I will always call Cosmetic Formulator Depot in Nigeria. They've never failed me. I've worked with quite a number of suppliers. I've not had, sorry, and I'm not saying there are no good suppliers in Nigeria outside Cosmetic Formulator Depot. And um, this is not me being sentimental. I've ordered things from a lot of suppliers, and that failed me. So because of that, I am not willing to experiment further. But I'm sure that they have good suppliers here in Nigeria that will give you these data sheets. They are very good suppliers here. I'm just not willing to use my hard-earned money to forex rates
Bye.
is not
Yeah.
exchange rate is no longer. I'm no longer with. They've dealt with me. They've dealt
Yeah.
with me. I've gotten salt as as salicylic acid. I've gotten sodium lactate as I'm
Lactic
done. So
acid.
do you have any other suggestion, Evita?
No, so in Ghana, I would say is it SN? Forgive me. I think she's online, but there is SN and then there is Formulators Shop GH. I mean, these are the
Okay.
two people. When I was in Ghana,
Okay.
I personally bought from them, and I like the fact that they label the products, they put the inky, but they also put expiring dates, which is very. I didn't ask them for specific like MSDS because I didn't need it. I just wanted to try those ingredients. Yeah, but they can provide it. I believe they can provide it. Yeah.
Okay. Then that's perfect. I once had a session on things to look out for before choosing an ingredient supplier. Maybe I would have to go and do a recap of that.
Mm.
Okay, somebody else is saying how to set up a cosmetic lab, even sanitation and layout to use. What to look out for when renting a flat for production. This is a you know what? Let's do simpler questions. We'll come back.
Yeah.
This is a broad topic. Do I need
No,
overhead
this one
stirrer to make a shower?
she needs to hire you as a consultant to help her
Exactly.
with that
It's a
layout.
it's a
Yeah,
it's a exactly it's a broad topic.
yeah.
That's why I tried to skip it. So someone said, "Do I need to get overhead stirrer when making a shower gel?"
I mean,
Evita,
it
would you want
depends
to?
on the batch size. It depends on your batch size you are making. Um, if you are making lots, I would say yes. It will come in handy, especially if you are using a gum. If you are using gums also, it helps a lot. So depending on the batch size, depending on the type of formula you are making, the type of shower gel, if it has to do with gums, or even without gums and your batch size is huge, then the best is an overhead stirrer. Because I work with a particular gum, and that gum, I need an anchor stirrer to actually hydrate the gum. Without that, I
Very good.
cannot I cannot use that.
I
And even if I am making 100 grams or 200, I still need to use the overhead stirrer to do it so that I can use the ankle stirrer. Else, I won't be able to use that.
use it.
Okay. So, I mean, there are certain ingredients. For instance, if you don't have the right tools, you are not in a better position to process them. And processing matters a lot when it comes to even stability, because the way you process your raw materials, if you are not careful, it might have a direct impact on how your product comes out and even the shelf life of your product.
I agree. I agree. But this shouldn't stop you from formulating. If you're a
Exactly.
beginner, you can start, making small batches. But by the time you want to start scaling up, you need an overhead stirrer. The
Yeah.
first time I used an overhead stirrer, I was like, no wonder. There's a difference. I was like, there's a difference. But that
Yeah.
didn't mean that I was formulating surfactant-based washes, before um, using or before buying one. Just know it's important that you know what you're working with. Like you said, there are some ingredients that require specialized equipment. Okay. Somebody says, is it the active surfactant matter that determines if a shower gel will cleanse effectively? Uh, Not exact. So there are
Not
different
ex-
things that determine,
yeah.
you know, if this is it's not exactly, yes, it has a role to play, but um not exactly. For example, you can use a 2% anionic surfactant, just 2%, and you get good results. For example, if you're cleansing products for babies. It also depends on what's it called? What you are cleaning, what you're formulating for. A 2% might clean a baby, but a 2% might not wash a very oily,
Hey.
greasy hair. Yeah. So there are so many things to consider. Is it the ASM that determines if a shower gel will cleanse effectively? Not exactly. Not
Yeah.
exactly. You can get
Because
good cleaning. Okay. Please
oh
go
no.
ahead, Evita.
So I think that a lot of people think that is the
Ladder.
foam that determines, is the lather that shows that it's cleaning. The surfactant itself is the cleaner, is the cleaning agent.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
and sometimes it doesn't matter whether you are cleaning, whether it is more or not, just that is a shower gel, is the body, and it has a wide surface area, and so you tend to use more of that, more of the ASM, so that you can get like a more, let me say, a better spread of your foam to cleanse, so that as you are
Exactly.
cleaning, you won't be
But you
losing
really
foam,
feel
more or
fresh.
less, you'd see. Exactly. But I mean, there are ratios to determine all these things. If it's for face, you are using between 7 to 10% active matter. If it's a shower gel, between 15 to about 20%, depending on how foamy you want the product
To
to
be.
be. And the cost also
Exactly.
matters. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. So that's why you can use a cleansing lotion and you will still feel that you've cleansed your skin without the lather.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Somebody says my lotions, even after following active pairing, pH compatibility, it still doesn't work well like expected based on active research. What could be the cause? Can you hear me, Vita?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear
Oh,
you.
okay. So I'm gonna say when you say work well, what, because I find that a lot of people they don't manage their expectations. It happened to me first of all when we were first using alpha abutane. Then I thought that the moment you use alpha abutane like this, the thing is going to clear. The very first time when I used alpha abutane, I was disappointed. I was like, but why? This was not what I read. And which is why I would say, do your experiments, manage your expectations. So when you say it's not working, what is your expectation? I would
Yeah.
have you know that not a lot of research has been done on African skin. And so what the Asian says that wiping their skin might do little or nothing for our skin. That doesn't mean that the lotion is not working. It's not your fault. There's nothing that you did wrong. We just need to learn how to manage our expectations. So even apart from lightning, so when you say work, if you let us know the active and your expectation, then we'll be able to help you manage it better. And which is what I always say, don't overpromise. Don't, because I find that all this trying to cut corners, mixing with serums, pro mixing and all of that, it is because you have overpromised the your expectation is very high.
Yeah.
So what's your expectation and what is it that the product did not deliver? Then we're going to start from them. We would know, you know. Somebody else said any site to read about efficacy data of an active, most times it's the supplier's detail that
Yeah.
most times it's the supplier's details that let you know. I mean, have to leave this sun. So
The sun.
most times the supplier detail is gonna let you know if there's any efficacy data. They're the ones who give you this efficacy data. Which other sites can you read? Go to Google
I mean,
Scholar. I use Google Scholar without issues.
oh, okay. I mean, I rely
Um,
heavily on my suppliers, and that's where you can really get your efficacy data. And apart from that, also experimenting, trying making the products and trying,
thank you.
because sometimes that is where it starts, really. The
Thank you.
supplier will tell you it's going to do this and that, but you have to sometimes try it because, like you said, most of these data is not on black skin. So the way our
Exactly.
skin work and react is different from how Caucasian or Asian skin works. So sometimes if they tell you that you use this, we used it at 3% and this was the results, you try and also use it and see for yourself,
Exactly.
just that sometimes we are so much in a hurry to get results, so much in a hurry to do stuff, but really no one is, let me use the Nigerian word, no one is pursuing you. So yeah, you got to slow down
You
and
just
try it.
that this is very important. It's very important. You need to slow down and try it out. Many times when they gave me 4% niacinamide, 2% MAG worked on melasma, I was greatly disappointed until I started to try it out myself. Many have a lot of supplier efficacy data has actually failed me. Try it out yourself to validate it by yourself. Um, Someone said that hand mixer doesn't do much for illusion. How do I know which overhead stirrer to use? Overhead stirrer doesn't homogenize.
Yeah.
Please, for your lotion, if you're making a small batch, get your hand blender. If you're making a big, or even a homogenizer. Overhead stirrer is not for homogenizing. A hand mixer will introduce a lot of air bubbles into your lotion. So stick to using a hand blender, even for you need very high shear for homogenizing, so a hand blender will help, or a homogenizer, please, not an
An overhead
overhead stirrer.
stir.
Thank you. Someone said how to get the silky texture of an emulsion. Evita, are we going to talk about that?
Okay, so when it comes to emotion, your lipids, your emulsifiers, your gums, they all play a role in the rheology, like how the sensory, the aesthetics, they play a very
Exactly.
big role in it. So if depending on, she said emotion, yes. I mean, depending on the type of emotion, is it cream, is it lotion that you are trying to do? Um, Look out for different things, okay? Try
Exactly.
and blend different emulsifiers, rheology modifiers. That's where your carbomers, your polymers, and your other gums also come into play. If you are looking for something silky, nice texture, that kind of Korean, I think, was cream gel texture, you know that, okay, then we are going towards the carbomers or the polymers. You look for things like that.
Exactly.
And then the blend of oils you also bring together. You need to create that gradient of
Exactly.
feel, so that once you start spreading, okay, you have a light skin feel. Now it goes to medium. It's more thin. It's lightweight, all comes into place. If you want a silky texture, do not put a lot of plant oils because they are heavy.
Thank you.
Try and use your esters, depending on the type of emulsion, maybe a cream or viscosity. Know the type of emulsifiers you want to use. Some emulsifiers are heavy, they're a bit draggy. So if you use more, it would have an impact on your product. So changing, knowing how to blend and mix your emulsifiers, your gums, and your lipids play a very big role in the texture and feel of your product, especially emulsions and serums also. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. About serums, this is a big question, so we're gonna skip it.
Yeah.
Steps to take
There's
before
nothing about
products.
serums.
Exactly. Steps to take before products are approved by NAFDAC and how to ensure quality assurance of. NAFDAC is a whole, a whole. Let's just skip this question, please. Um,
Okay.
because I don't know. I don't. Let's not just go. It's a broad question. For some active ingredients that have optimal pH values, there are no information provided by manufacturers or vendors who sell them on what pH they need to be in a finished product in order to get optimal results. How do you figure this out? Is it enough to just try the active at different pH levels to get this information, or are there better ways to know? Sorry, I need to understand this question. Some
So
active ingredients that have optimum pH values. Oh, okay.
yeah, so first of all, how did you even know that they have optimum pH values since there are no
Exactly.
information provided?
Information.
Is that okay?
Thank you.
By the manufacturer. No manufacturer would give you a raw material if it's even an active without telling you, giving you the product specification,
Thank
because they would always do that. They would tell you the optimal pH. They would give you a range. They won't give you an exact pH because pHs are always in range. They don't come at a fixed
exactly.
value. So they will tell you its optimal pH is between 4 to about, let's say, 6.5. So depending on the raw materials you are bringing together, you know that at the end of the day, my pH, considering the skin's own pH, has to be between 5 to 5.5, and you
Exactly.
have an optimal pH for your raw material at 4 to 5 to 6.5. So it means that if you choose a pH that suits the skin, known as pH balance, then you are within the optimal range. So a manufacturer or a raw material will not have its optimal pH range around 4 to 6.5, and then you decide to bring it at 3 or
Three.
3.5. It will degrade over time. You get it? Yeah.
I see.
So they will
Yes.
always get, if they don't get you, ask. They
Exactly. If
will
you don't
give
get, you
you.
ask. And if you are too scared of asking, then you should learn to research.
Yeah.
Research. UL Prospector. There are so many sites, that have use the Inky name.
Yeah.
You should be able to
Yeah.
find some detail about that ingredient online. What would you consider the best and highly effective non-SLS surfactant to be used in a gentle body wash? For me, there's no best, but I like isothionates. I like torates. Um, I
Tourists are
like
very expensive.
that's why I said there's no best because there are so many factors to consider. For creamy texture, I will go with isothionates. Sulfur succinates, disodium lauryl sulfur succinates
Yeah.
can be mild. So
Understood.
it really depends. Gentle body wash formulation. Okay, non-SLS surfactant. It really depends, really.
There are lots
Um,
of them. So she
there are
should
lots
just
of
choose
them.
anyone that is not, it's non-SLS, period.
Exactly. There are lots of them. And then talking about gentle body wash, it is not the surfactant that will determine. It is you that will formulate it to be gentle. Because even with the SLS, you can actually make a gentle body wash. So find ways to choose based on your budget, availability, and then use different from methods to make it gentle. You can add non-ionic surfactants, add super fattening agents, do low active surfactant matter.
Yeah.
Just find different ways to achieve that mild texture you're looking for. Somebody else said how to formulate with AHA acids without irritation. Uh, well, acids and irritation, like, they go hand in hand. Don't I won't
Touch
say
and go.
without, because there's hardly a way that you formulate without. However, you will formulate to reduce irritation. Let's put it that way. If you say to reduce, um, ideally, when you're formulating with MEAHA, you shouldn't go below 3.5. First of all, don't go below pH 3.5. Secondly, there are ways that you can reduce irritation, like adding things like maybe film formers, some kind of. First of all, let's even start with what kind of AHA product are we talking about? That would also guide us to say how do you reduce it. Do not add essential oils. Remove that, because reduce any other, since you already have AHAs, reduce any other thing that can increase or that have the potential of causing irritation. You can remove that or irritate. Then put ingredients that have soothing properties, allantoin, bisabolol.
Yeah.
Reduce the concentration of the AHAs. That also helps. Then increase the pH. As you increase it, the salt form dominates, and it's not as aggressive as the lower pH ranges. When you formulate lactic acid at 5.5 is milder than lactic acid at 3.5. That's why you can use 12% lactic acid lotion without issues. But you can, if that same amlactin is a pH 3.5, you would have severe irritation. You can't use it daily. But amlactin, you can use it daily without issues. So pH has a huge role to play. So talking about without, like I said, you can't do without. You have to find a way to just reduce. Someone else says ingredient substitution, how to do products.
You have a
I have a
class on that.
class.
They should check the
Yes,
video. Yeah.
I have a class on that. So how to do is a long class. Ingredient substitution, you will find it in that class. How to get good formulation results. This is also there are so many things to consider. Formulation requirements, bioavailability, sensory effects, um, 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 stability, formulation reward, yeah, stability. Um, if you're working with, I talked about, is it delivery, depth, and deposition or something?
Yeah.
Now everybody uses. It's not every ingredient that likes every product that you add to
To
an ingredient
penetrate.
enhancer to the
Yeah.
yeah. So there are so many things. Take time first of all. Study the substrate you're formulating for. Study the pathogenesis of what the skin condition or the hair condition you're trying to deal with. Then it will guide you to know what best to choose. Are you formulating for sensitive skin? Are you formulating for thinning hair? Are you
Okay.
formulating for acne? What are you formulating for? So first, all these things, there's no, this will help you or guide you in choosing ingredients to help you get good formulation results, right? Now, while formulating somebody, I'm going to question number, we're
Mhm.
just in 22. We'll maybe do this next time again because we can't go beyond, what's the time? We have about 21 minutes left.
Okay.
We want to do 90 minutes. So we've done 1 hour. We just have about less than 30 minutes left. Someone says, while formulating shampoo with salicylic acid, what pH should the shampoo have and how to thicken the formulation with salicylic acid, especially when using sulfate-free systems? Evita, are you going to go for that? Are you going to answer that?
When formulating shampoos with salicylic, what pH should the shampoo have and how to take in the formulation? Okay, so basically you want it to exfoliate. That is how come you want to use that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So with when using sulfate free, The surfactant you choose has to be pH tolerant of the acid. Is that okay? So, I mean, for salicylic acid, we know that for it to have a good availability, we need it around 3.5. So that should where your pH should be, probably between 3.5 to about 4. But you also have to think of the surfactant you are using, because some surfactant also cannot go to that extreme low pH. So that should be something you really think about, and start with a small batch. How to thicken? You can use a lot of things to thicken. Something that I really like HPMC because it's acid tolerant. So that is something you can actually use to thicken a shampoo like that with AHA, with BHA, sorry. And then
Yeah.
other gums as well. You can try other gums as well, other polymers as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes you need to try.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So please, HPMC, not HEC. I find that
No,
HEC
not
doesn't do well with surfactants.
HEC, not
So
HEC. No,
because I've had
HPMC.
so many people ask me, "Oh, Somi, I used HEC, it didn't work." Please,
No.
HPMC, not HEC. When you're buying, they are not. When it comes to surfactant, don't use. They are not interchangeable. Um. Okay. Other addition of anionic, amphoteric, and non-ionic surfactant. What goes in first? Is there a special way of order of addition? Well, it depends on your choice of anionic surfactants. Really. Um Sometimes it also depends on your overall formula. When I'm adding things like, I don't subscribe to adding oils, but when you're adding things like fragrance oils, it there are different ways of order of addition. But I would say your anionic should go in first.
Yeah, then
Uh,
the rest can follow.
yeah, then the rest of them. Anionic first should go, like your first things first should be your anionic surfactant, and every other thing will follow after. I find that some people leave their cocoa betaine for their cocoa amidopropyl betaine last because of they find that it thickens maybe when they add it to but I don't rely on that method of thickening, because I've had things that it will work, and then after a while you find that the thing is thinning out.
Yeah.
So first things, if you are confused on how order of addition, go in with your anionic, amphoteric, non-ionic. There's no one size fits all. Um, what are the supporting ingredients that must be in a retinol formula to boost the efficacy of retinol? Mm, well, supporting ingredients. Really, you can make a plain retinol lotion. There's nothing that retinol is retinol. It
Yeah.
is retinol. Retinol will work regardless of whatever you add to it.
Whatever
However,
you
I find that some ingredients that can, work alongside retinol is some things like niacinamide.
cinnamon.
I've also
Yeah.
seen things like azelaic acid. However, this will increase the chance of irritation. Retinol is already irritating, so I would not go that way, except aggressively. And I don't subscribe to when people come to me, "Oh, Somi, I have this. What do I use?" I'm a cosmetic chemist. Let's be. I'm not a dermatologist or an esthetician or all of that. So let the esthetician, I would rather work with an esthetician that says, "Oh, okay, let's use this and this." Then I'll formulate it for you. But I find that things like azelaic acid may work. What's it called? Niacinamide will work. But retinol is already aggressive. So find ways to use things that will um,
Soothing the
work, yeah,
skin,
that's
rather.
soothing. Yeah, which is why I would go the way of niacinamide instead of azelaic
It's a
acid.
little
I'm not I don't believe in aggression when dealing with skin issues. Um, then we have another question here. Sorry, I'm trying to get it out. Some processing methods of gums and polymers, for example, HEC, Cepimax, HEC alkalize your formulation. That's the easiest way. Add a base and it will gel instantly. And then when you're done, you adjust your formulation to what you want it to be.
be.
Seppi Max
Okay.
then just sprinkle and blend. I'm not sure there's any um, special way for Cepimax. HEC doesn't require that you disperse in a gum. No. Um,
In like you disperse in, you form a slurry. Yeah, you
yeah.
add it to, let's say, a humectant or any liquid. Yeah.
Mhm. So, how and where to do a microbial test from an African black soup recipe in Lagos? There's this lab. I think they call them the scientific lab at Surulere. You can try them out to see. Somebody said, "What are the equipment used for SPF rating?" Evita, are you going to answer that?
Please, you can't test SPF rating in your home. Take it to the lab to test it because
Exactly.
we have ISO, we have like directions to of testing. So you need to follow
Exactly.
certain procedures and protocols in order to arrive at those kind of rating, and you wouldn't have that. So please take it to a lab to
Exactly.
get it done. Yeah.
Please take it to the lab. I know that there are lots of suppliers that sell sunscreen ingredients. Even if you buy those ingredients and you put them in your product, that doesn't mean that your product has SPF
Mm,
ratings. You have to actually go to the lab and have that your product tested for you to say that okay, it has
yes. Very
SPF
nice.
rating. So you know, so there are so many things to consider. You can't buy the equipment. It's not something you can do at home. What's the best way and best pH to solubilize azelaic acid, and how best can you keep it? Can you keep azelaic acid serum stable to stop recrystallization? What kind of serum, first of all? Then, second of all, keep azelaic acid within. I think the pH is it to 5.9? A bit 5 to
Yeah,
I think 5 to
just about
5.9.
5.5.
About
Yeah.
5.5,
But
yeah.
I thought
So if you go
I
low,
thought you have a class on that.
so what I have, yes, I have it. Thank you. I forgot. I
Yeah.
did not forgot it. I have a class on that actually. So that's the azelaic acid booster class. That would actually help you know how to work with that. And let me see. How to stop recrystallization? There's just a lot. When working with azelaic acid, from the solvent to your pH to things like your emulsifiers, all those things can help. And
Yeah.
then your heating and cooling methods, all those things will help. Will determine your final product when it comes to formulating with azelaic acid. Knowing that benzoyl peroxide must be heated correctly and under controlled temperatures, what's the best solvent to dissolve benzoyl peroxide, and how do you stabilize it and keep it from recrystallizing?
I have
I think
never worked with benzoyl peroxide. I don't have
okay.
access to it, so
So
I don't know. I'm
I'm going
sorry.
to say, I'm going to say, when working, I am not a fan of heating up benzoyl peroxide, even though I would rather work with the already. There are some versions of benzoyl peroxide that are already what's it called? They've already blended, milled, that you just need to
Dissolved.
just add
Okay.
it into your formulation, because that's something that degrades easily. I'm not about to experiment with all those in an uncontrolled environment. So,
Um,
the best way, if I were to advise, I would say look for a version that they've already milled. All you just need to do is take it and add it into your product. You're not going to have issues with that. Um, yeah, then some people talking about solvents, some people claim BMI, and I'm not a huge fan of heating benzoyl peroxide. So let me just state it for the records. I'm not a huge fan of heating, so that you don't have accidents, please.
accidents.
Somebody says, how can I formulate a face wash containing 5% still 5% benzoyl peroxide using 10% DMI as a solvent, ensuring that benzoyl peroxide remains stable and does not recrystallize when combined with surfactant? The only thing you can do, go and find a benzoyl peroxide, the ingredient that is already, usually it comes in a blend of, I think, 60% blend. They've already milled it. You just have to take it and put in
Okay.
your formulation. It makes your formulation easier. That's my own advice. Okay, so how to determine the amount of surfactants needed in making a shampoo, a foaming hand wash, and a body wash? You already mentioned this earlier on.
Yeah, I think I gave a bracket. Shampoo normally between 7 to
Yes,
about 10, depending on the type of oil. Sorry,
exactly.
the type of hair you are dealing
Hair
with.
you're
If it's
dealing with,
oily hair,
yes.
you want to use more, about 10%. If it's normal hair, between 7 to about 10% is fine.
That,
Yeah. And a hand wash and a body wash, maybe between 15 to about 18%.
yeah,
Yeah. Active matter.
okay. So I want to believe that you're talking about active surfactant matters because when you say the amount of
Yeah.
surfactant, I want to believe you're talking about the percentage active surfactant matter. Now, best ingredients for fading stretch mark and if they truly work. They don't truly work. So stretch mark is stretch mark is stretch mark. However, yes, um, it's not like you can't fully make stretch marks disappear.
Disappear.
However, there are some things that you can do to maybe stimulate the production of collagen. That's not my area of expertise, but I know that things like retinol can help fade the appearance. Things like glycolic acid, because I know glycolic acid
Mhm.
helps with what's it called, collagen
Yeah,
stimulation or
yeah.
production. I'll be like, yeah, stimulating that.
Stimulation.
Um,
Yeah.
things like I know that some estheticians, like I said, this is not my field, will tell you to create a like stimulate the area. There's this thing, I don't know, is it derma roller or something that they use to
Yeah, they
roll on that?
use they call it like the inky stretch mark removal. So they use
Exactly.
how they do the I think micro needling. They have
Yes,
an equipment like
exactly.
that they use. Yeah.
Thank you.
And
So
then
some
there
people use that and
are,
then apply these
yeah,
things.
yeah, there are also some other oils. I know this extracts that actually helps, but there are a lot of things on the market. They don't disappear. They visibly make them
Yep,
like to be seen, more like it.
it
They
is.
fade it sort of. Yeah,
Exactly. Your
yeah.
rose hip adding rose hip in the
That is
blend
not
can
much.
help.
Yeah.
There's
So
this other
Miss,
oil, is it
let's
Prakashi?
go.
Okay.
Prakashi oil.
Let's
Let's
yeah.
go.
Okay, thank you. So I think yeah,
I,
we that's about it. I think somebody let's just ask sorry, let's just answer this lady's question. Or please consider making me a video on formulating with English. Oh, okay. There's no that's about it. We can't exhaust all the questions. Um thank you everyone for joining. Um we'll try and do this often
yeah.
because we find that we have over about 200 questions that we haven't answered. So we'll try and do it often. Thank you so much. Evita, thank you so much for doing this with me. I didn't, I'm really grateful. Thank you.
It's
Thank
my
you so much.
pleasure. Thank you.
All right then.
Thank you.
Um,
Bye.
yeah. Bye
Bye,
bye.
everyone.
Bye
Bye.
everyone.
Okay, you go off.